Okay, we're going to finish our promotion P, and with this we're going to do trade promotion, which we mentioned briefly in Chapter 13, direct marketing, and then personal selling. Now, you know I was in sales for a number of years with NCR Corporation, so I suppose if I have an expertise in marketing that this would be the area. So hopefully I have something relevant to say. Okay, chapter objectives. We're going to look at the sales promotion, small p promotion for the B2B sector. We're going to look at direct marketing. Then we're going to look at personal selling and how it works with the promotion mix. That's why it's called integrated marketing communication. We have a class on integrated marketing communication. Dr. Goulas normally teaches it. We're going to look at some different types of sales jobs. We're going to look at what the selling process is and a little bit on sales management. Okay, this is your B2B sales promotion. With the B2C sales promotion, we do things like sweepstakes and contests and coupons and buy one, get one free and so on. This is the B2B side where you're trying to get your customer, who is an organization, to sell your products, to use your products, okay? Talk briefly about co-op advertising, which is where a Kroger's would do something with a Del Monte. That's the co-op advertising where they work together. Trade shows, which I did quite a bit when I was with NCR. They're really dreadful things to have to be an exhibitor in. But sometimes they're fun. Point of purchase displays, incentive programs, push money, allowances and discounts and deals that you make within the channel. Now this is really looking at the promotion that you do within your channel of distribution. And channels we're going to do in Chapter 15. Okay? Characteristics of trade sale. This is what we do within trade promotions. Allowances and discounts, the co-op advertising, and so on. There are descriptions of what they might do and examples of what those are. Your book goes into this. I will let you look at these at your leisure. An example is Coors distributors. They give the bar owners things like the lights that they put up in the neon signs they put up in the windows and such. So those are the sorts of things that you do within that channel of distribution before you get to the end user. Direct marketing. This is a communication, our promotion piece, so that's with the communication, to a consumer business recipient designed to generate a response in the form of an order, request for further information, and or a visit to a store or other place of business in order to purchase the product. Forms of direct marketing. And boy, is this changing. If you look at mail order, many of us still get catalogs. I don't know really why companies are still sending them out, because invariably, even if we get a catalog, we can get the same information online. You can order it online. So this may very well be an area of marketing that's going to change a lot in the coming years. Telemarketing, the dreaded telemarketers who bother us all at dinner. That really is a very positive type of marketing. There's a sector of the business community that uses that and needs to use that. That's what they should be doing, given what they try to do. Direct response advertising and m-commerce, and we'll look at each of these. Catalogs, we know what that is, so on and so forth. And you do realize that you can opt out of getting catalogs. There's a way to go on there and online and say, stop sending me any catalogs at all. Direct mail, pamphlets, brochures, so on and so forth. Direct marketing. We talked about that. There is also, as in with catalogs, there is a do not call registry Or if you don't wish to get any of the direct marketers calling you, your phone number will go on that list. And if you are a current customer, they are allowed to call you. Otherwise, they should not do it. I'm certainly on that list. Direct response advertising, example here are infomercials. Everybody has the ShamWow, right? Notice now that a lot of this really is segmenting your market on how to best reach them. M-commerce, promotional and other e-commerce activities via mobile phone and devices. Unfortunately, we get those now. Okay, here we go. We're going to finish up with sales. Many of you will end up in sales whether you know it or not, whether you want to or not, and we're talking about professional selling. I hope you get an opportunity to take sales as a class. Unfortunately, too many people have a very negative stereotype of sales, and that's coming from historical attempts at selling by companies. Today's marketplace, salespeople engage in relationship selling. You have to be able to maintain a relationship with a customer, which means you have to be trustworthy and ethical and responsible and accountable. You can't be that backslapping, fast-talking individual that we think of as a salesperson. There are very few of those around. They just aren't successful. It's not the way the marketplace works anymore. Definition of selling. It's a person-to-person business activity. This is the only place in marketing where you actually have a person-to-person activity, which a salesperson uncovers and satisfies the needs of a buyer to the mutual long-term benefit of both parties. That's the key. Personal selling occurs when a company rep interacts directly with a prospect or customer to talk about a good or a service. There are many sales jobs, very different types of sales jobs. I won't even begin to try to tell you the different kinds of jobs there are. Mainly because it would be impossible to do. They vary by industry, by type of customer, by type of product. I would suggest if you're interested in selling, you talk to salespeople, professional salespeople. Primarily B2B. I say that because most professional sales jobs are in the business-to-business sector. Now, why is that? Well, it's because you're selling high-end products. You're selling things that cost a lot of money. And it takes education, it takes communication, a lot of it oftentimes. You can't just walk into a bank like, well, I used to sell to banks for NCR. You can't just walk in there and sell them a $3 million computer system in a 2-hour meeting. It might take months or years to do it. That's why in the business-to-business side there are more professional selling jobs. There are also very high-paying selling jobs. How firms decide if they're going to emphasize personal selling versus advertising or sales promotion and so on. So our other promotion P. Well, we've talked about that push and pull strategy. Push is pushing the information down through the channel. You do that with salespeople. If your decision maker is well educated, well placed in the organization, if it's a new task buy, we've talked about new task versus modified, rebuy, and so on. Very complicated, technical, sophisticated product. If you have a large company, if you're trying to sell to somebody like a Procter & Gamble, you really need to sell because it's going to take a lot of effort to get through the organization, to get all the different people involved. Expensive product, customize, if there are trade-ins oftentimes, and negotiation. Very few of you are well trained in negotiation, but you should be. It's a skill that would be nice to have. Okay, selling has changed a lot in the last few years based primarily on technology. We've talked about customer relationship management, CRM systems. Realize that many of the people using those CRM systems are your frontline salespeople. The technologies, you have many software packages that are dedicated just to sales. one of the biggest ones, and I don't mean in any way to be promoting a particular software package, but a sales software package that many companies use is Salesforce.com. You might want to go on and look at that just to see what it is, and it really is a CRM system, but that's a very specific system sold. It's called Salesforce.com. You might want to check that out. The video conferencing, teleconferencing, and so on and so forth that you can do. Many companies don't even hold sales meetings in the organization any longer. Sometimes you may not have to go to the customer site. You may be able to do it via Skyping or video conferencing. Voice over Internet Protocol, and certainly all of our many, many wireless technologies. Okay. Different sales tasks, and there are essentially 3 types of sales position. Now, within each of these, there are many, many different combinations of pieces that make up the selling positions. The order taker is someone like a retail salesperson who works with an already motivated buyer. So your buyer comes into the retail store and the salesperson works with them. As opposed to the order getter, that's the person has to go out and find the prospect, take them through the whole selling process, which we'll talk about in just a moment. Much more difficult, much more involved. Between the two, the B2B side is the order getter for the most part, while the B2C side oftentimes is the order taker. Not always, but most of the time. Most of your sales jobs are on the order getter side. The other possibility is that supporting function. When I first started out with NCR, I had a sales support function where I essentially did various tasks for the sales force, such as help to write proposals or system configuration or pricing, or go out and do presentations for them. I never got any kind of income based upon what they sold, so I was straight salary, but I was there strictly to support the sales force. So those are the 3 basic types. I briefly mentioned this. You've got 2 approaches to selling, transactional or relationship. Transactional, it's a typically one-time sale. There's no interaction after that. Very few salespeople do that today. It's more relationship selling, where you do indeed want to have this long-term, mutually satisfying relationship with your customer. Very different, very more sophisticated, complex type of selling, because you are there for the long haul. 3 ingredients for a successful salesperson. That's what the salesperson is, what they know, and what they do. We'll talk about what they do when we look at the selling process. Now, what the salesperson knows, we've talked about a lot of this already. You need to understand buyer behavior. You need to know your company's products and product lines. You certainly need to know your company, but also the marketplace, meaning your competition, what's going on out there, what are the different environmental issues that are arising, and so on. What a salesperson is, those are the qualities of a salesperson. And there's been some research done on what sales managers look for in brand new entry-level sales people. And yes, they look for good communication skills, they look for professionalism, they look for integrity, they look for all of the things you would expect. Intelligent, high energy. The number 1 quality they look for is that enthusiasm and energy. Reason being, there's a lot of rejection, and there should be. Not everybody's going to need or want your product. It may not be the right time for them. They may not have enough money. They may have something else they have to do, or they may just flat out not need it. When you have rejection, as often as salespeople do, you have to be able to deal with that. And it takes a relatively high ego, but it takes a lot of enthusiasm and energy and positive attitude to be able to leave that rejection and go to the next customer and be just as up and positive as you were before. Okay, this is what salespeople do. This is the selling process. Now look along the side of this. It's the attention, interest, desire, action we talked about in consumer behavior. That's what your customer, you want them to do. The steps in the selling process, first of all, you have to prospect and qualify the individual. Who are they? Do they need your product? What's the situation they're in? Second step is the approach. That can be done either via phone, in person, by a letter. That's where you do the cold calling door-to-door sort of thing sometimes. Then you do your presentation and demonstration. That's where you do features, benefits, features, benefits, features, benefits, and so on. Remember, we don't buy a feature, we only buy a benefit. Then once you've done that, you handle the objections. You can't cover everything that the customer wants. You can't give them 100% information in that demonstration or presentation. So they're going to have questions, and that's really how you should look at objections. It's just basically providing more information to their questions. Then once that's done, you're going to close the sale. You're going to ask for the sale. Oftentimes, if you do the other steps correctly, that's not nearly as intimidating as it sounds. And don't forget the follow-up. That's where you develop that long-term relationship. Do what you said you're going to do. Make sure they got what they wanted, that performed correctly, and so on. Okay? Now, this can take a few hours. It can take months. It can take years. We'll finish up sales, talking a little bit about sales management, sales leaders. Now, think about salespeople, and they are high energy. They do have a relatively big ego to some degree. So the people who manage them, here's what they have to be. They have to be relatively assertive. They have to have a fairly large ego also. Salespeople have to be able to take risks. If you're not taking risks, people aren't going to say no, and they're going to say no occasionally. So you have to be able to take a risk. You have to be innovative. Their customers have problems. So what you're trying to do is solve their problems. Sense of urgency, get the job done, just can't take forever. And they're empathetic. Not sympathetic, empathetic, meaning they understand their salespeople. Here are their responsibilities. First of all, they set the goals for the organization. That can be a variety of things. It can be products sold. It can be revenue. Then they also determine the sales force structure. What are they going to look like? How many people do we need? How are we going to divide them up? Are we going to give them industries? Are we going to give them geographic territory? How are we going to do that? You recruit them, you hire them, you put them through this screening process, and you train them. Make sure you get adequate training in order to sell your products. A lot of companies have the philosophy that if they hire a lot of people, some of them will be successful, a lot of them will leave, and they don't care. Not a good thing to do. If a company isn't willing to take time to train you in what you need to do, such as what you need to know about the products and the competition in the company, that's probably not worth your investment either. Then, of course, they have to be able to compensate and motivate the sales force. And salespeople can be compensated in a variety of ways. You can have straight salary. You can have straight commission. Most salespeople have a combination of that. They have a base salary plus a certain amount of commission. Normally, that commission is based upon the amount you sell. It's usually a percentage of sales, something like that. But all of those structures are very different. When you get an offer for a sales position, and listen up, accounting majors, because you guys are going to have to sell your services out there, okay? Make sure you know what the contract involves. Make sure you know how you're going to be compensated and evaluated. What are they going to evaluate you on? And the last piece that sales managers do is evaluate the sales force. It shouldn't just be about amount sold. It shouldn't be just about revenue. There should be other goals for salespeople, such as customer satisfaction or profitability and so on. So, we have just finished our promotion P. We're going to go on to place, and we will finish up with retailing, and that will be it. Okay? Hope everything's going well, and I'll talk to you later. Take care. Bye.